Hey, welcome back, and buckle up for this one, especially if you have cute, cuddly pets. Right now, there's a zoo in Denmark that is looking for donations, and we're not talking about money. They want small animals. Yeah, this is about to get really dark because they say they need food for their predators, and that includes lions, hyenas, tigers, lynxes. They're looking for chickens, guinea pigs, rabbits, small horses, even, that would be euthanized and then served as a lunch. The zoo put out this request online saying the goal is to mimic the natural food chain, right, for the predators by giving them a whole prey. And as you can imagine, social media has had a lot to say about it.
Instead of having wild animals caged and asking people to give over their small pets, why not let them be in the wild where the hell they belong?
If you have an old guinea pig that's on the way out, I personally don't see a problem with donating it to the zoo.
The cost to euthanize an animal is pretty expensive, especially a horse. So to be able to give back and feed another animal and have that also be used as a tax deduction could be beneficial in many ways. It's the circle of life.
Treating our animals and pets like they Lunchables? Like, no, we don't want to feed your tiger that you kidnapped. So hell no, we ain't got no damn animals to give y'all so y'all can feed y'all tigers.
Okay, so the comments flooded the zoo's social media pages. This is not funny. But that last one was pretty spot on. It grew so much that they had to turn off their comments. So joining us now is the communication director at the zoo Miami, Ron McGill. Ron, I don't know if you saw some of those reactions. Circle of life here, or is this just like something that the zoo should just not be advertising to society?
Well, I think one of the things we got to look at, first of all, is culture. This is happening in Denmark. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, a zoo in Denmark actually euthanized a perfectly healthy giraffe because they said it was surplus. I remember the giraffe's name was Marius. Not only did they euthanize this perfectly healthy giraffe because they said it was surplus, they then did the necropsy, which is basically an autopsy on the animal where they cut it open, dissect it into pieces in front of families, in front of guests and little children. And then they took the pieces of that giraffe and they fed it to one of their lions. The thing that was amazing is that most of the public in Denmark were not fazed by it. They just said, oh, okay, this is what we do. So it's a little bit of a cultural thing. Having said that, I think they would be hard pressed to look at the people and say, listen, can you bring Spot over here and let us feed him to a tiger? The other thing that I'm very concerned about is they say these animals are going to be humanely euthanized, but I don't know how they're going to do that without using a euthanasia drug, which you would not use on an animal that you're going to feed to another animal because that drug lingers and then becomes a threat to the animal that's eating it. So I don't know what humanely euthanized means. This is something that, again, it's cultural, but at the heart of it, I think it lacks empathy. I think it lacks empathy. It's not something that I certainly would want to promote in any way. The reality is there is a circle of life. Animals eat other animals, but that's in the wild. That's not a domestic animal that you've raised as kind of, people consider their pets, sometimes their children. And to make that kind of request, I think a lot of people would find it very offensive.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of, you were just talking about what they've done there in the past, the giraffe thing, and maybe like cultural sensitivities are one thing, but I did notice, and I hate to even ask this question, like on the donation list, like why these specific animals, the guinea pigs, the rabbits, and why not cats and dogs? Like, is that going too far for this place in Norway?
No, I think what it is that guinea pigs, rabbits, chickens, and horses, these are all prey animals. They're herbivores. Dogs and cats are predators. They're carnivores. These are not the natural diet of carnivores or predators in the wild. It's easier to feed those animals. I will say that I was in Cuba several years ago, and the Cuban zoo there put out a request for horses. And what they did was they didn't ask for donations. They had a compensation program where if your horse is about, to not be able to survive much longer, instead of you just shooting it and putting it in the ground, we will compensate you for that horse, of which they were then feeding to their lions and animals like that. And I will also say this, listen, there are zoos, ours included, where occasionally you have an animal that dies a natural death without disease. The vets can check it out to say, okay, the animal is generally healthy except for, a debilitating geriatric problem like a horrible arthritis or something like that. And we have carcass fed those animals to some of our predators, rather than simply just incinerate it. Now, these are not our pets. these are not animals that, we do in that way, but it is something that can be done practically.
Ron McGill, all this just reminds me that we humans are a very, very weird species. Ron, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.